ever found yourself endlessly delaying tasks, even when you know they're important? In an age of constant distractions and tempting comforts, it can feel almost impossible to stay on track. Yet, if you look at Buddhist monks, individuals who follow ancient teachings inspired by the Buddha, they maintain an extraordinary level of self-discipline and resilience. How do they do it? In this guide, we'll explore the principles monks use to conquer procrastination and cultivate unshakable discipline, and how you can adapt these strategies to transform your own life. Why we procrastinate. A Buddhist perspective. Procrastination doesn't stem from laziness alone. In Buddhism, the mind is often compared to a wild elephant, easily led astray by cravings and aversions. We delay tasks because part of us wants immediate comfort or fears potential discomfort. Buddha recognized that this tug-of-war between desire and avoidance is universal, so he devised teachings to harness the mind's wandering nature. One key insight is that procrastination arises from attachment to fleeting pleasures, like scrolling through social media, or to avoiding unpleasant feelings, like facing a difficult project. Monks address this by developing detachment, recognizing that short-lived urges shouldn't dictate long-term goals. They learn to see temptations and fears as passing clouds, not commands. This shift reframes how they respond to impulses, making it easier to dive into responsibilities rather than dodge them. For you, awareness is the first step. Notice when you're drawn to procrastinate. Maybe you spot a wave of boredom or the thrill of one more YouTube video. Then remind yourself, this is a momentary pull, not a mandate. By labeling these urges, you start to loosen their grip, laying the groundwork for disciplined action. Cultivating mindfulness. To break the cycle, monks rely heavily on mindfulness to keep procrastination at bay. This practice, paying calm, attentive focus to the present moment, helps them detect early signs of drifting away from their goals. Instead of blindly following the mind's every whim, they observe thoughts and feelings as they arise. If restlessness or avoidance shows up, they see it for what it is, a temporary mental state, and let it pass without acting on it. Translating this into daily life, you could begin each morning with a brief mindfulness session. Sit quietly, follow your breath, and let any arising thoughts move through your awareness. Notice what you're tempted to do. Check your phone, rearrange your desk for the 10th time, etc. But resist the urge to label these temptations as good or bad. Instead, see them as fleeting phenomena. Over time, this mental training clarifies which impulses actually serve your best interests and which merely delay progress. Mindfulness also helps with task immersion. When it's time to work on something, you commit to being present for that one activity, free from digital or mental scatter. If your mind wanders, you gently guide it back. This present moment anchor not only reduces procrastination, but also increases the quality of your output. Buddha often taught that true liberation begins when we master the mind's wavering nature, and conquering procrastination is a real-world example of that mastery. Embracing the middle way, avoiding extremes. Buddha's approach to life, known as the middle way, avoids extremes of indulgence and asceticism. Modern procrastinators often swing between all-or-nothing thinking. They might binge-watch TV for hours and then suddenly vow to work without breaks. Such extremes can lead to burnout or relapse into old habits. Monks strike a balance by scheduling consistent meditation, study, and chores without overloading themselves. This moderate approach respects human limits while steadily building self-discipline. Instead of punishing themselves for lapses, they focus on maintaining equilibrium. So if they become overly rigid, they dial back. And if they start to slack off, they tighten their routine. In practical terms, the middle way means setting realistic goals. If you've been procrastinating on a major project, you won't fix it by forcing yourself to work 10 hours straight each day. Instead, commit to a manageable block, maybe 2 hours of deep focus, followed by a short break. This measured routine helps you avoid the binge and crash cycle. By continuously fine-tuning your approach, you develop a sustainable rhythm that supports forward momentum without triggering emotional or mental exhaustion. The power of small steps. Monastic routines. Monks don't become disciplined overnight. They adhere to structured routines composed of small, repetitive tasks, waking before sunrise, performing morning chants, cleaning their living space, and meditating. These seemingly modest habits reinforce the habit of acting promptly rather than delaying. Over time, these small, consistent actions accumulate into a powerful momentum that monks harness throughout the day. How does this translate to overcoming procrastination? Let's say you're dreading a large assignment. Breaking it into smaller, concrete actions, like drafting an outline or gathering research, replicates the monk's approach. Instead of letting the enormity of the project intimidate you, you tackle bite-sized steps that are easier to begin. Each completed step fosters a sense of accomplishment and reduces the mental resistance to starting the next one. Moreover, these routines instill a sense of discipline beyond any single task. When you commit to a daily schedule, say 30 minutes of reading, 10 minutes of tidying, 15 minutes of meditation, you train your willpower like a muscle. Even on days you feel tired or unmotivated, the routine carries you through. Buddha taught that true freedom arises from doing what benefits you rather than what you merely feel like doing in the moment. By incorporating small daily disciplines, you align your actions with your deeper goals. Meditation for laser-sharp focus. One of the most potent tools monks use to stay on track is focused meditation. While mindfulness can be open-ended, allowing thoughts to come and go, focused meditation directs attention to a single object, often the breath or a mantra. In Buddhist temples, hours can be spent refining this discipline, noticing each time the mind veers off and gently steering it back. This honing of concentration is invaluable for battling procrastination. If your mind habitually leaps to social media or daydreams the moment you face a challenging task, you likely lack the mental muscle to hold attention where it needs to be. Focused meditation trains that muscle. The more you practice, the longer you can sustain concentration without craving a distraction. Try a short daily session. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Gradually increase as you improve. Pick a simple focal point, like slow, deep breathing, and remain with it. Each time your mind drifts, note the thought, maybe planning or worrying, and gently return to your chosen point. Over days and weeks, you'll find this skill transferring to your work or studies. Tasks once riddled with mental side trips become more straightforward as you guide your attention back whenever it wavers. With consistent effort, you'll find that focusing deeply on a project feels far more natural. Wisdom of impermanence, releasing fear of failure. Fear of failure underpins much of our procrastination. We delay projects because we dread not meeting standards, our own or others. Buddhism addresses this by teaching impermanence. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. Monks internalize this truth to reduce anxiety around outcomes. A single misstep or setback does not define them. It's just another wave in the ongoing ocean of experience. By embracing impermanence, you realize that no success or failure is permanent. You also accept that your skills and circumstances evolve over time. This perspective strips away some of the dread attached to potential failure. With less fear, you're more inclined to start tasks immediately rather than postponing them indefinitely. Consider how much time you waste worrying about whether you'll produce a perfect piece of work. Instead of letting that fear paralyze you, adopt the monk's understanding. Each attempt, successful or not, is transient. Even if you fall short, you learn and adapt for next time. This realization can drastically reduce procrastination. When you stop treating tasks as pass or fail life events, you free yourself to focus on the process, ironically boosting your chances of success. Compassion for yourself, a surprising key to discipline. Monks are often seen as strictly self-disciplined, but their approach is underpinned by compassion, not just for others, but also for themselves. Buddha taught that harsh self-criticism can entrench us in negative cycles. When you label yourself a procrastinator or beat yourself up after a lapse, you create more stress, which can lead to more avoidance behavior. Compassion doesn't mean excusing harmful habits. It means recognizing that you're human, capable of growth, and worthy of patience. Monks apply this principle by acknowledging mistakes or lapses in discipline without sinking into shame. They refocus on the vow or routine at hand. Each day is a fresh opportunity to live in alignment with Buddhist principles. If you slip up, maybe you binge-watch shows instead of working. Don't dwell on guilt. Instead, ask what triggered the slip, then gently reaffirm your commitment to improving. This compassionate mindset fosters resilience. You'll find it easier to bounce back and stay motivated because you're not burdened by self-loathing. In practical terms, add a short daily check-in. What went well today? What can I try differently tomorrow? Keep it constructive, reaffirming that the path to discipline is a journey, not a sprint. Turning service and purpose into motivation. Another secret to monk-level discipline is purpose. Monks often dedicate themselves to higher ideals, such as alleviating suffering or guiding others on the path of enlightenment. This altruistic perspective provides deep motivation, making it easier to adhere to daily routines. Tasks aren't just chores, they're expressions of a larger mission. Translating this into your own life, think about how the tasks you procrastinate on might serve a bigger vision. Whether it's building a skill to help your community, improving your family's well-being, or even just growing into a stronger version of yourself, infuse your activities with purpose. If you remember why something matters, you'll be less likely to put it off. In Buddhism, the concept of right livelihood suggests that work isn't just about personal gain, but also about contributing positively to the world. When you see your tasks in this light, whether it's finishing a project that will uplift others or learning a new skill to be of service, you'll find an inner wellspring of motivation. The barrier of procrastination crumbles under the realization that your effort has meaning beyond immediate gratification. This synergy of discipline and purpose is exactly how monks stay focused, day after day, on their spiritual and communal commitments. Procrastination may feel insurmountable, but Buddha's teachings remind us that every action starts in the mind. By embracing mindfulness, realistic routines, compassionate self-talk, and a clear sense of purpose, you can transform your habits and build the discipline monks embody. Ready to reclaim your focus and finally tackle what you've been putting off? Share how you plan to begin in the comments. And if this resonated with you, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Monk Mindset, for more insights on living with clarity and resolve. May your journey be steady and fulfilled. Buddha's story is one of profound transformation. A prince born into wealth and luxury, he grew up shielded from life's harsh realities. Yet, despite having everything, he couldn't escape the deep sense of dissatisfaction he felt. He discovered that all life is marked by suffering, sickness, aging, and death, and set out on a quest to find a way to overcome it. What followed was a journey of self-discovery, deep meditation, and a profound revelation that would change the world forever. Today, let's explore the real story behind Buddha's enlightenment and the path he discovered to overcome suffering. Why this story matters today. We live in a world that often celebrates the pursuit of happiness, wealth, and success, yet so many still feel unfulfilled or lost. Buddha's life is a reminder that no matter how much we gain, we cannot escape the inherent suffering of life. Born in royal comfort, he had everything most could ever wish for, yet he was deeply unsettled by the suffering he saw in the world. Over 2,500 years ago, Buddha embarked on a spiritual journey to answer life's biggest question: why is there suffering and how can we end it? His teachings, focused on mindfulness, compassion, and the deep understanding of our minds, are as relevant now as they were back then. Buddha's search for meaning offers a timeless guide for overcoming suffering in our own lives, showing us that peace, joy, and enlightenment are within reach. not through external possessions, but through inner transformation. A prince's life in luxury. Siddhartha Gautama, who would later become the Buddha, was born into royalty in the 6th century BCE in what is now Nepal. His father, King Suddhodana, wanted to shield his son from the harshness of life, so he kept him within the palace walls, surrounded by wealth, beauty, and luxury. Siddhartha had everything a prince could desire: fine clothes, delicious food, and the companionship of beautiful women. Yet, despite this extravagant lifestyle, he felt a deep sense of emptiness and dissatisfaction that no material possession could fill. As a young man, Siddhartha's curiosity led him to venture outside the palace. What he saw shocked him: an old man bent with age, a sick man suffering from illness, and a dead body being carried away. He realized that no amount of wealth or pleasure could protect him from these universal experiences of suffering. It was then that Siddhartha made a momentous decision. He would leave the comforts of his palace to find a way to overcome suffering. The 4 sights and the decision to leave. Buddha's pivotal moment came when he saw what are known in Buddhist tradition as the 4 sights. The first was an old man, frail and bent with age. The second was a sick man, suffering from disease. The third was a corpse, being carried to its final resting place. And the fourth was a wandering ascetic, radiating peace and serenity despite having nothing. These sights deeply disturbed Siddhartha. For the first time, he fully understood the truth. All human beings are subject to suffering, illness, aging, and death. This realization shattered his perception of the world he had always known. Despite the luxuries surrounding him, Siddhartha couldn't escape the fact that all things are impermanent and subject to suffering. He was struck by a deep sense of urgency to find a solution. After much contemplation, he made a bold decision. He would leave his life of luxury and embark on a spiritual journey to seek a way to end suffering. The quest for truth. Siddhartha's quest for truth led him down many paths. First, he sought guidance from renowned spiritual teachers of his time. He practiced intense meditation, underwent extreme forms of self-mortification, and deprived himself of food and comfort. His aim was to push his body to the limits in an attempt to transcend suffering. Yet no matter how severe the ascetic practices became, they did not bring him closer to the peace he was searching for. In fact, they left him physically weak and mentally foggy. Realizing that extreme asceticism wasn't the answer, Siddhartha sat beneath a Bodhi tree and vowed not to rise until he found the truth. He decided to take a different approach, one rooted in balance. Buddha's insight into the middle way emerged from this moment, where he understood that neither indulgence nor severe deprivation would bring true peace. Instead, the path to enlightenment lay in living with moderation, mindfulness, and wisdom. Meditation and enlightenment. Siddhartha's moment of transformation came during a deep state of meditation beneath the Bodhi tree. For days he meditated, facing his fears, desires, and attachments. As his mind calmed, he was able to observe his thoughts without becoming overwhelmed by them. He understood the nature of suffering and how the mind perpetuates it. In that moment of clarity, Siddhartha realized that the root of suffering is attachment. Attachment to desires, identities, and the impermanent nature of life. Buddha's enlightenment was the realization that suffering arises when we cling to what is fleeting and out of our control. Once Siddhartha understood this, he experienced a profound shift. His mind was no longer clouded by desire, fear, or ignorance. He had reached enlightenment and, with it, the key to ending suffering. From that moment on, Siddhartha was known as the Buddha, the Awakened One, the Four Noble Truths. Buddha's enlightenment revealed the core teachings that would form the foundation of his philosophy, the Four Noble Truths. The first truth is that suffering is an inherent part of life. It's not something we can avoid, it is woven into the fabric of existence. The second truth reveals the cause of suffering, our attachments and desires. We cling to people, experiences, and things, expecting them to provide lasting happiness. But when these things inevitably change, we suffer. The third truth is that suffering can be overcome by letting go of attachment. Buddha taught that by relinquishing the need for constant control and embracing the impermanence of life, we can find peace. The fourth truth is the Eightfold Path, a practical guide to living with wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. This path leads to the cessation of suffering and the realization of enlightenment. Buddha's teachings offer a roadmap for transforming the mind and freeing oneself from the cycle of suffering. The Eightfold Path to End Suffering. The Eightfold Path is the practical guide Buddha offered to help us end suffering. It consists of 8 interconnected practices that lead to a more mindful, ethical, and peaceful life. The first practice is right understanding, seeing the world as it truly is without distortion. The second is right intent, acting with kindness, compassion, and goodwill. Right speech involves speaking truthfully and kindly, avoiding harmful or divisive words. Right action is about living in harmony with others, refraining from harmful actions. The next 4 practices involve mental cultivation, right livelihood, earning a living in a way that doesn't cause harm. Right effort, cultivating positive mental states while abandoning harmful ones. Right mindfulness, being fully aware of the present moment. And right concentration, developing deep concentration and insight through meditation. These 8 practices work together to cultivate wisdom, ethical behavior, and mental discipline, leading to a life free from suffering and filled with inner peace. The nature of suffering and impermanence. Buddha's teachings emphasize the impermanence of all things. Everything is constantly changing. Nothing in this world is permanent, and the pursuit of stability in an unstable world leads to suffering. Buddha observed that our desire for permanence, for things to remain fixed, leads us to cling to relationships, objects, and experiences, which are all inevitably subject to change. This attachment to impermanent things causes us pain when they are taken away, and even when they remain, we live in fear of their eventual loss. Buddha's wisdom teaches us that true peace comes from accepting impermanence, not as something to be feared, but as a fundamental reality of existence. By embracing change and accepting the transient nature of life, we free ourselves from the anxiety and suffering that arise from trying to hold on to things that were never meant to stay forever. Buddha's legacy of peace and compassion. After achieving enlightenment, Buddha dedicated the rest of his life to teaching others how to overcome suffering. He didn't retreat into solitude, but actively engaged with the world, sharing his wisdom with anyone willing to listen. Buddha's teachings emphasize compassion as a core part of his path. He didn't just teach people how to find inner peace. He taught them how to alleviate the suffering of others. True enlightenment, Buddha believed, isn't about personal achievement. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings. By acting with kindness, compassion, and understanding, we help reduce suffering not only in ourselves, but in the world around us. Buddha's life was a living example of this truth, and his teachings have inspired millions to walk the path of peace, wisdom, and compassion. His legacy endures today, reminding us that the way to overcome suffering is not to run from it, but to face it with courage and compassion. Buddha's journey from a prince in a palace to the enlightened teacher of millions is a powerful reminder that true peace and liberation come from within. His path to overcoming suffering wasn't about seeking external solutions, but about understanding the nature of the mind and the impermanence of life. Today, Buddha's teachings continue to guide those seeking freedom from suffering, offering practical wisdom and timeless peace. Reflect on the 4 noble truths and the Eightfold Path. How can you apply them in your life? If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more insights. May Buddha's wisdom illuminate your path toward inner peace. Have you ever felt like the day slipped away without accomplishing anything truly meaningful? In a world full of distractions and constant demands, it's all too easy to squander our precious time and energy. Yet if we look to Gautama Buddha and the monks who follow his teachings, we'll find a radical alternative, one built on clarity, balance, and purposeful living. In this guide, we'll explore Buddhist insights that help us master our energy, cut through distractions, and make each moment truly count. Why we struggle with time and energy. Modern life can feel like a blur of tasks, messages, and obligations pulling us in countless directions. We say we have no time, yet we often slip into mindless scrolling or procrastination. According to Buddhist thought, the real problem isn't a shortage of hours, it's a lack of mindful intention. We bounce between cravings for entertainment, novelty, or comfort, and aversions, avoidance of challenging tasks, which drains our vitality and scatters our focus. Buddha recognized this inner restlessness as a form of suffering. By constantly chasing fleeting distractions, we miss out on the deeper, more fulfilling aspects of life. We remain busy but unfulfilled, exhausted by the constant mental noise. Instead of acting with purpose, we drift through each day without a clear sense of direction. Understanding this pattern is the first step in reclaiming our energy. Once you see how short-term impulses sap your mental and emotional reserves, you can begin to shape a life that reflects your higher values, not just your impulses. Buddha's insight on distraction. In the Buddhist worldview, distraction arises when our minds become enthralled by every passing desire or worry. Instead of focusing on meaningful goals, we veer off course at every shiny temptation. Buddha taught that the mind behaves like an untamed elephant, easily spooked and prone to rampaging if not properly trained. This metaphor might sound dramatic, but it points to how chaotic our inner world can be if left unchecked. Monks tackle this by practicing mindfulness and concentration. Rather than eliminating all desires, they learn to observe them without being controlled by them. The constant pull of social media notifications or the lure of binge-watching might feel irresistible, but these are just modern forms of ancient temptations, quick fixes that keep us from more profound engagements. Buddha's wisdom suggests that each time we're pulled toward distraction, we should pause and ask, will this truly benefit me in the long run? By repeatedly returning to what matters, we break the cycle of wasted energy and foster a sense of calm purpose in everything we do. Mindful priorities. Aligning time with values. One of the reasons we waste time is the mismatch between our daily activities and our deeper values. Monks live by clear priorities, meditation, service, study, that align with their spiritual aims. This clarity directs how they invest their energy from sunrise to sunset. You don't need to be in a monastery to adopt a similar approach. Start by listing what genuinely matters to you: family, health, creativity, personal growth, or community service. Then, examine how much of your daily schedule reflects those values. If there's a huge gap, that's where your energy leaks. Suppose you claim family matters most, yet spend evenings lost in social media rants or idle browsing. Over time, this discrepancy erodes your sense of purpose. A more mindful approach would be planning specific time to be fully present with loved ones, devices aside, mind open. By making such intentional choices, you conserve energy for what enriches you rather than letting it dissipate on unfulfilling activities. As Buddha would advise, right intention plus right effort can drastically reshape your life. The middle way for balanced energy. Buddha's famous middle way teaches that neither self-indulgence nor strict austerity leads to lasting peace. The same logic applies to how you manage your time and energy. Swinging between frantic multitasking and total avoidance, binging on shows for hours, creates a cycle of guilt, exhaustion, and eventual burnout. Monks avoid these extremes by establishing consistent, balanced routines, waking early, allocating set periods for work, rest, and meditation, and maintaining a measured pace throughout the day. Try this in your schedule. Block out realistic time for focused tasks and include genuine breaks for rest and enjoyment. Overloading your to-do list sets you up for failure, while having no structure invites chaos. Aim for a sweet spot, a few key tasks that genuinely move you forward, interspersed with breaks to recharge. Like monks, you'll discover that balanced energy management yields better concentration and more consistent progress, freeing you from the all-or-nothing trap. Minimizing time wasters. A Buddhist approach. Time wasting often stems from unconscious habits, compulsively checking social media, scrolling through endless feeds, or endlessly reorganizing tasks instead of doing them. Buddha taught that habits become entrenched through repetition, but they can also be undone by awareness and substitution. For instance, if you catch yourself mindlessly browsing online, apply a short mindfulness exercise. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself if this activity aligns with your priorities. If it doesn't, gently switch to a more purposeful action. Monks systematically reduce clutter in their environments and minds. They keep possessions minimal and routines simple, cutting down on potential distractions. You might try unsubscribing from unnecessary email lists, turning off non-essential notifications, or designating certain times of day as offline. This isn't about deprivation, it's about simplification. When you remove the clutter, you create space to direct your energy toward meaningful projects or relationships. Over time, small daily choices add up, reshaping your mindset from reactive to intentional. Compassion in action, energy used for good. Gautama Buddha's teachings emphasize that discipline isn't just a personal undertaking. It can serve the greater community. Monks often dedicate portions of their day to charitable work or communal chores, using their energy to uplift others. This outward focus can actually help maintain motivation. When you realize that your efficiency and focus benefit not only you, but also the people around you, procrastinating seems less appealing. If you're seeking new motivation to stop wasting time, consider how your improved productivity can help someone else. Could you volunteer in an area that resonates with you? Could you mentor a younger colleague or friend? By channeling energy into acts of compassion, you infuse your daily routine with deeper meaning. This aligns with the Buddhist value of interconnectedness. Our actions ripple outward, touching more lives than we might initially realize. Such a perspective fosters gratitude and a willingness to invest energy wisely, rather than frittering it away on trivial pastimes. Practicing non-attachment, freedom from perfectionism. Sometimes we waste time not because we're lazy, but because we're paralyzed by perfectionism. In Buddhism, attachment to outcomes can bind us just as tightly as any other craving. If we cling to the idea that everything must be flawless, we hesitate to start or spend hours tweaking minor details. Monks learn non-attachment by acknowledging that no result is permanent or perfect. Effort matters more than an impossible standard. For you, practicing non-attachment might mean setting a reasonable time limit on a task and allowing it to be good enough. This approach frees you to move on without second-guessing every detail. Over time, you learn to focus on the present action rather than obsessing over external validation. Each completed task, even if imperfect, becomes a stepping stone toward mastery. Buddha's teachings remind us that our real work is to cultivate a clear, stable mind that can adapt to life's changes, not to chase illusions of permanence or perfection. Making time, a sacred resource. Monks often view time as sacred, not to be squandered on mindless diversions. Each sunrise is an invitation to practice mindfulness, serve others, and deepen understanding. Adopting that mindset, you begin to see your schedule as something precious, a canvas for living out your values. This might mean consistently meditating each morning, carving out time for a passion project, or setting boundaries around your evenings for family or introspection. Over time, these monk-inspired habits transform your relationship with time. You drop the notion that days are infinite. Instead, you treat each moment as an opportunity to invest energy in alignment with who you wish to become. When you do slip, falling back into old distractions or habits, you approach it with compassion, gently returning to your new routine. This cyclical process of mindful effort, error, and rededication is how real growth unfolds, echoing the never-ending path of self-improvement taught in Buddhism. Mastering your energy and cutting out wasted time isn't about punishing yourself or living joylessly. It's about channeling your focus in a way that supports your deepest intentions. As Buddha's teachings show, small, consistent changes create a profound shift toward clarity and purpose. Which strategy will you try first? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found value here, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Monk Mindset, for more insights on building a disciplined, fulfilling life rooted in Buddhist wisdom. May your journey be one of mindful growth and lasting peace. Have you ever wondered why monks appear so calm, no matter what chaos surrounds them? In a world overflowing with triggers, traffic jams, annoying co-workers, daily stress, most of us find it incredibly challenging not to lose our temper from time to time. Yet monks, many of whom follow Buddha's ancient teachings, seem to remain tranquil in situations where anger would normally erupt. Is it some secret superpower they have? Not exactly. Instead, it's a combination of mindset, practice, and a deep understanding of the human mind. Today, we'll explore why monks rarely get angry, how Buddha's wisdom shapes their reactions, and most importantly, how you can adopt these principles to bring more peace and resilience into your own life. Why this story matters today. We live in a world that often celebrates the pursuit of happiness, wealth, and success, yet so many still feel unfulfilled or lost. Buddha's life is a reminder that no matter how much we gain, we cannot escape the inherent suffering of life. Born in royal comfort, he had everything most could ever wish for, yet he was deeply unsettled by the suffering he saw in the world. Over 2,500 years ago, Buddha embarked on a spiritual journey to answer life's biggest question: why is there suffering and how can we end it? His teachings, focused on mindfulness, compassion, and the deep understanding of our minds, are as relevant now as they were back then. Buddha's search for meaning offers a timeless guide for overcoming suffering in our own lives, showing us that peace, joy, and enlightenment are within reach, not through external possessions, but through inner transformation. The misconception about monks and anger. There's a common belief that monks never feel angry, as if they've magically erased that emotion from their repertoire. The reality is far more nuanced. Monks are human beings, and like everyone else, they can experience the beginnings of anger, perhaps a surge of frustration or a moment of irritation. The difference is in how they handle it. Buddha's teachings emphasize that emotions, including anger, are natural occurrences. What truly matters is our response. For many of us, an insult or inconvenience immediately sets off a chain reaction of blame, resentment, or bitterness. A monk, however, has trained to observe the early signs of anger and gently redirect the mind before it explodes into rage. They understand that anger arises, but it doesn't have to dominate. This training doesn't turn them into emotionless robots. Rather, it refines their awareness and self-control. By recognizing the temporary nature of all feelings, monks cultivate a mindset that sees anger as a passing cloud, not a fixed storm. They don't waste energy fighting anger. They simply let it come and go, maintaining a calm center. This skill can be developed by anyone willing to practice, challenging the notion that monks are different or special. They've just discovered a more skillful way to process a universal emotion. How Buddha viewed anger. Buddha taught that all emotions, anger included, arise from our tendency to cling to expectations and illusions. We want the world to behave according to our preferences, and when reality disagrees, anger sparks into life. Buddha's insight was that this clinging doesn't just make us upset, it also blinds us to truth. Anger clouds judgment, spurring rash decisions that often lead to regret. In the Buddhist texts, anger is sometimes compared to grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You're the one who gets burned first. Each time you let anger fester, you damage your own peace of mind. Buddha believed that if you wish to end your own suffering and cultivate compassion for others, you must address the root causes of anger: ignorance of impermanence, attachment to how things should be, and the illusion that external events can fully dictate your state of mind. Monks internalize these teachings through meditation, self-reflection, and daily mindfulness exercises. They continually examine the nature of their thoughts and emotions, recognizing anger's fleetingness and learning not to feed it. The goal isn't denial of anger, but a clear, balanced perspective that prevents anger from taking root. By embracing this view, you too can see anger as a self-inflicted wound, one you can choose to avoid by adjusting how you perceive the world. The role of mindfulness. Mindfulness is at the heart of Buddhism, and it's a key reason why monks rarely succumb to anger. In simple terms, mindfulness is paying full attention to the present moment. This means observing your body, emotions, and environment without rushing to label or judge them. When you practice mindfulness, you become more attuned to the signals that precede anger, muscle tension, quickened heartbeat, or certain anxious thoughts. Monks don't wait until they're deep into a rage to respond. They catch anger early, like noticing smoke before a fire breaks out. By catching it at this stage, they can gently shift their focus, maybe taking a few deep breaths or recalling a compassionate thought. This break in the pattern stops anger from escalating. One mindfulness exercise used in monasteries is to periodically pause throughout the day, scanning the mind and body for tension. If a monk notices irritation building, they calmly acknowledge it. "I feel frustration right now." Then let it dissipate. Imagine having that level of self-awareness in your daily life, knowing the moment you start to get angry and having a clear strategy to cool it down. This approach doesn't vanish everyday challenges, but helps you respond skillfully, preserving your peace of mind. And the best part? Mindfulness is a skill anyone can learn with consistent practice, training the mind toward compassion. Buddha taught that compassion is a powerful antidote to anger. Instead of seeing someone who offends or frustrates you as an enemy, monks learn to view them as a being caught in their own struggles and pain. This doesn't mean you excuse harmful behavior, but you recognize that most negativity arises from confusion or suffering. One popular monastic practice is called metta, or loving-kindness meditation. During metta, a monk brings to mind different people, including those they might conflict with, and silently wishes them well. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. This practice gradually shifts the default mental response from one of defensiveness or aggression to one of empathy and understanding. Imagine transforming your immediate reaction to a hurtful comment from anger into, "They must be in pain or uncertainty to speak that way." Over time, this compassionate outlook makes it harder for anger to take root. Instead of fueling the flames of hostility, you become curious about the other person's perspective. You might still need to set boundaries or address the issue, but you do so from a calm, empathetic space. By training the mind toward compassion, monks reduce the triggers that lead to anger, cultivating a gentler approach to human interactions, non-attachment and impermanence. Buddhism teaches that everything is in constant flux: situations, relationships, and even our emotions. This concept, known as impermanence, is crucial in understanding why monks rarely get stuck in anger. They see that no condition lasts forever. Every moment is an opportunity for change. Holding grudges or clinging to expectations is futile because the world will keep shifting regardless of our desires. Monks also practice non-attachment, which means not tying their emotional well-being to how things should be. Instead of resisting change or grasping for control, they adapt. If someone criticizes them, they don't automatically perceive it as a threat to their identity. By recognizing that nothing is permanent, they find it easier to let go of negative emotions like anger. The moment you realize a hurtful remark is just words that will fade, like a wave in the ocean, holding on to anger starts to feel unnecessary. This doesn't imply passivity. Non-attachment isn't about giving up on goals or accepting injustice. It's about releasing the emotional chains that keep anger alive. By letting go of the need for people and situations to behave according to a rigid script, Monks free themselves from the trap of constant disappointment and rage, stepping into a more flexible, peaceful mindset. Practical exercises to cool anger. Even if you don't live in a monastery, you can apply some of the same tools monks use to manage anger. When you feel anger rising, start by taking 3 slow, deep breaths, concentrating on the inhale and exhale to give your mind a moment to reset. Then silently note, "I'm experiencing anger right now." By naming the emotion, you shine a light on it, making it less likely to overwhelm you. Gently question your anger. What expectation or need of mine is being threatened? Often, this reveals that the real issue lies within your own inner state rather than the external trigger. Next, try metta meditation by spending a few minutes each day sending warm wishes to yourself, your loved ones, and even those who irritate you. As you cultivate goodwill, anger gradually loses its hold. Also, remind yourself of impermanence by saying, "This moment is passing. This situation will change." Acknowledging that nothing is permanent helps loosen anger's grip on your mind. Try incorporating at least one of these techniques into your daily life. Even small, consistent changes can yield significant benefits, mirroring the mental discipline monks develop through years of dedication. By making mindful choices in the heat of the moment, you pave the way for a calmer, more resilient mindset, transforming relationships and inner peace. When monks reduce their anger, it doesn't just improve their personal well-being, it transforms their relationships and, by extension, their communities. Imagine how different your household, workplace, or social circle could be if anger wasn't the go-to reaction during conflicts. Instead of erupting into arguments, you'd have calmer discussions. Instead of harboring grudges, you'd seek resolutions. This is precisely the ripple effect that occurs in monastic communities, where compassion and understanding become the norm, not the exception. People who learn to channel their emotions thoughtfully build stronger bonds because they communicate openly and listen without the toxic haze of anger. That doesn't mean disagreements vanish. It means they're handled more constructively. Internally, your sense of self also shifts. When you're not triggered by every annoyance, you free up mental energy for creative pursuits, deeper insights, and genuine joy. Buddha's teachings aren't just about renouncing the world. They're about living in it more fully, with clarity and peace. As you let go of anger and practice empathy, you begin to taste the same serenity monks experience, an inner peace that isn't dependent on circumstances. This shift permeates every corner of your life, fostering personal growth and healthier connections with others. Monks don't have a secret formula for never getting angry. They've simply devoted time and effort to understanding the mind, practicing compassion, and letting go of what fuels rage. In embracing Buddha's insights, they recognize that anger is a choice, a habit that can be unlearned through mindfulness, compassion, and acceptance. The best news is you don't need years in a monastery to start seeing results. By adopting these same principles, you can gradually disarm anger before it takes control. Which of these methods resonates with you the most? Let me know in the comments, and if this message resonated, consider subscribing for more deep dives into Buddha's wisdom. May your journey be peaceful and free from the storms of anger.